ready.
Okay, I've got 6:30, and I see that we have a quorum in the room, so I will call the meeting of the City Council, City of Hillsboro to order. First item on our agenda tonight is the consent agenda. Under consent agenda, we have vouchers totaling $461,495.93. Did everyone receive copies of the vouchers? Were there any questions regarding the vouchers? Second, we have minutes from our January 2nd, 2024 meeting. Everyone received copies of the minutes. Were there any questions or corrections to the minutes? Third, we have public utility lien for the Harrington Hospital Clinic totaling $5,923. Mr. Stiles?
Yeah, so this is, we're filing a lien on Harrington Hospital. It may be more just ceremonial as it goes against the hospital organization itself. It's for the utility bills outstanding on the Harrington clinic, or the clinic down here in downtown. Not optimistic that we'll receive those back, but we need to file, go through the process to file this.
Okay, any questions? Lastly, we have CDBG vouchers totaling $2,000. Matt?
Yeah, we've got one. It's a grant administration payment to Ranson Financial for the child daycare center.
Okay.
Child care center, sorry.
Any questions?
You have a question on the previous?
I was gonna just, from how much that is per month, is that a couple thousand a month? Is that what it's?
I think that is that a month and a half or 2 months-ish?
The way that read, there was is that attached?
It's just the only thing I was
Yeah.
responding to is November bill of 3,000 and then the previous.
Yes, yeah, there was the November because the penalty on that was like $300, which is a 10%, and the other was the prior month. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, so 2
Had to
months on
think
there.
through that.
I think maybe my concern is what's that look like going forward?
For them?
Yeah.
As far as their bill?
Well, and if they're not paying this, they're probably not paying going
Oh,
forward.
well, so the bank has possession of the building.
Okay.
So the bank is paying, Enterprise Bank is paying.
Forward will get paid.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay. That's.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, I'd accept a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
So moved.
Councilman Driggers moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman By seconds. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're now into our first opportunity for public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a comment at this time? See just the press online. Jane, you got anything at this point? Okay. Then we'll close our first public comment opportunity and we'll turn the floor over to Mr. Darren Neufeld of EBH to discuss the agreement on the Adams Street project. Darren,
You want me back over here?
please.
Absolutely.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. We should have done that.
Okay. I'm scared. Time. Go back here.
Okay.
Copy here. So what we have in front of you tonight is a contract for the design and inspection of the Adams Street project that we were awarded under the cost share. Pull up here. We would have already had the surveyors on site, wasn't waiting around, but snow kind of has that a little bit of a hamper. So if it melts like it's supposed to the rest of this week, surveyors will be on site next week to get this rolling. Our goal, we're just gonna kind of push this timeline wise. Our goal is ultimately to try to get the intersection of A and maybe the block down to Tabor done before school starts in the fall, completed. That way we don't impact the grade school. If the north 2 blocks are still in construction as we start school in the fall, that's not as big a deal. We have workarounds for that. But the big thing is that A intersection. That's the biggest. And then that new parking lot for Tabor is kind of a secondary big next thing too in the intersection there to be. So that's kind of the push, why I got this thing, try to get it as quick as we found out that we got awarded the grant. You guys can get rolling and get it out to bids, hopefully, yeah, maybe in the March, April at the latest timeframe, and that way somebody could get started on it by midsummer. There's several contractors who've already pre-warned that this is coming out, and there's been already a good interest in it, as soon as they get it out.
And this does include design of any infrastructure that we need.
Any infrastructure we decide to add to it, meaning water.
Water's a big one.
Water's the big one. I really don't think, I kind of look back, I didn't see sewers gonna be an issue other than maybe we're gonna adjust manholes, but nothing needs to be repaired on that end. It's mostly the water. Worst case scenario, as we're designing, we're at least going to get the water under the new piece of street, intersections, those type of things. Even if we don't get it fully replaced right now, it'll be at a position where nothing will have to be torn out that we just put in.
Are we planning on sidewalk replacement as
Well,
well?
that would be a question on the design.
Well, the only place there is sidewalk, that it would be at the
It's on the west
intersections.
side.
Side of the
Yeah,
street.
the
West
intersection,
side has
but that new
sidewalk.
from A to Grand is new. There is no sidewalk on to the north.
Yeah, there is on the west side.
Is there?
Yep.
Is it maybe missing for a house? And then the same thing with the south.
It's not missing for one house.
Yeah.
but Mostly.
We hadn't programmed that in here, and it's not part of the grant dollars. But we can sure look
I
and
think we
see
ought to look at it.
what we need to do to make it happen.
I think we ought to look at it.
Okay. Our survey will have it picked up to where we could, and I can go through and evaluate what we would need to.
I think it would be nice to have
Yeah.
sidewalk that goes up to the walking trail for sure.
Okay,
But I think it just
does be
needs to
nice,
go
yeah.
to go to First Street.
yeah,
I
because First
think
Street on
after
up,
First
we're
Street,
new.
yeah, it's good,
Yeah.
it's new, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
So one of the 3 blocks is new.
Right.
And the piece across Tabor's new parking lot is new. In fact, with that Tabor parking lot, we actually went about 20 or 30 feet further because we had a tree we were getting
Right.
past the roots on, so.
well, as long as we got the thing tore up, I think we ought to really
Okay.
look at that.
Okay. So yes, this does include any of those extra utility design pieces. we have to
Right.
do.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Darren?
There's we were talking earlier this morning, so there's, Darren mentioned a lot of contractors, there's a lot of there's actually 3 or 4 contractors set up to do asphalt in the county this summer.
We can discuss that now.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
talk about that too, because it's
Let me grab.
all kind of part of it.
Okay.
May have an opportunity, because I think we're gonna have to borrow at least a little bit of money to do this project. I think it would be prudent of us to do that. So while we're looking at that, it may be an opportunity to look at some other projects that we need to do. If we're gonna go out and get some money, we might wanna look at all of them. So there's a few. We've identified that section, Adams section is one of our top priorities, but then we've got a couple other sections. South Lincoln and then South Wilson are also.
So what I passed out to you here is what you guys approved as a CIP here, a year and a half ago. And down there at the bottom, like Matt said, South Lincoln and South Wilson are those 2 number 1s that you guys have approved. Well, that's 2 sections that, and what I did on the back of this sheet is what I had given you back then when we did the CIP was option 1 and option 3. Option 1 is to actually redo all that we see is that it's basically 5 blocks. As a 12-inch cement treated base with a double chip seal. That was that option 1 we discussed a couple of years ago. Option 3 was doing it with 4-inch rock base, 6-inch concrete pavement, similar to what we're doing to Adams and what we did on Wilson and the other residential streets. Well, because of some recent developments, option 2 I added in tonight. And that is to do an 8-inch rock base with a 4-inch asphalt pavement. We just recently bid 2/90th for the county. From Remington, which is the Pilsen Road, over to Lincolnville. So it's a 4.5 mile stretch. Well, we got incredible asphalt bid prices because there's actually gonna be 3 asphalt plants set up here in the county this next summer. So there's gonna be one set up at the old Marion Rock Quarry, doing some work on 150. There's gonna be one set up somewhere between Durham and Tampa And they're gonna be doing work on K-15, and then there's one gonna be set up down around Florence, doing work on 50 and South 77. So it's one of those just real freak times that we got a really good bid price for the county on asphalt, and all three of those companies we talked to during that bidding said, hey, what else do you got for us while we're here? So that's why I put together that option two. And you can see by going that, and Dale and I talked earlier today too, about whether that was going to be the right amount of rock base and asphalt. We feel like since those were both primarily residential streets, yes, they see the trash truck, but that's really the only heavier traffic they really ever see. That an 8-inch rock base with 4-inch asphalt pavement over the top would be sufficient on this. So that's where that, so you can see it's about $200,000 cheaper to go the asphalt than the concrete right now, based on those bid prices we saw. If I gave you the same, the reason we didn't give you this cost a year and a half ago when we were doing the CIPs is because our projected at that time, there's not a lot of difference between concrete and asphalt. And if there's not going to be much difference, I'm going to recommend concrete all the time because the maintenance over the next 15 to 20 years is so much less on you as a city. So, but now with this better bid price, it makes it where at least, hey, I'm throwing it out there in front of you, let you take a look at it.
So obviously these would be separate projects, but we'll have an opportunity here and they're gonna be, we're looking at Adams, we're gonna do for sure. These would be an opportunity to maybe look at some other projects. Like I say, if we're gonna go out for financing, it may make sense to do that. I'd want to talk with Greg Varnberg a little bit about kind of how we would look at this before I would make any recommendation, but we wanted to put that in front of you while Darren was here, because that's a pretty significant difference. I would always recommend to do a concrete street just from the maintenance side of it. But when you're talking, $200,000, it's fairly significant. So, we wanted to put that out there as we're going to be getting into the construction season. You might want to think about doing a couple other projects while we're doing this. So that was kind of the thought process there. Get that in front of you.
How soon do they need to know on bids?
Really, from those asphalt guys' standpoint, like the 290th project, it's going to go in June. That's when they're going to do it. Now, what I don't know, because they're not really 100% sure, I don't know if the way they projected it at the tail end of their other jobs or the beginning of their other jobs. So I don't know for sure right now, are those plants going to be here in May, June, or June, July, August? I don't have that answer for you. The sooner we could get them ideas that it's going to happen, the better they're going to try to put better numbers to it.
Right.
But this section down here is not going to take a full blown. We don't need a lot of time for design. We can do a pretty quickie design with a contractor and say, okay, here's really the ultimate end goal. A couple of these blocks do need some new curb and gutter. That's probably going to take longer than. Say like a Wildcat or even a Davy Hat type thing, come in and do the curb and gutter, and then one of these other follow-on asphalt companies come in and do the paving. So who actually bids it? I don't know. It might be that the concrete guys doing the base work are the prime, and they just hire the asphalt company on the backside, or vice versa too. So that's all something we'd find out when we got out there and put it out to bid. I would realistically say if we were putting that out to bid in the same time frames as what we're putting Adams out to bid, I think you're going to be okay.
Okay.
Because that's still going to be 90 days before they even start that other project.
Sure.
And that's all assuming that these guys mobilize when they said they were going to, because if we do have a winter that lasts longer this year, they're obviously not going to move in because they're still doing stuff out there. Because normally this time of year, they're still trying to work places. Well, right now they're not. So
Right.
that means it's putting them behind on other things. Maybe, could be.
So on your map, it looks like you have also this birch right here.
That's that priority 2.
Yeah, but you're not including
No,
any of that.
this is just priority 1. So it's just those south 5 blocks.
Yeah, I think with number 2, we're talking about in the future going for CDBG, because there's an opportunity for that in that neighborhood.
That section, that's how we did those streets the last time when we did Date and the half of Cedar. We did it with CDBG funds.
Okay.
So if it comes back around, the CDBG offers streets again, which we're all hoping for.
I think it probably will. They've had a real push for childcare, obviously. But I think it's coming back around.
So when they get back to that'll be a nice, plug-in to go after all of Birch and the other half of Cedar. On the CDBG side. The piece that wouldn't fit into CDBG over there is that north block and a half, 2 blocks that goes up to the railroad on Cedar. There's only a couple houses.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
And the north end of it's industrial.
Yeah,
I've definitely had my share of conversations about that.
that is probably the
Street.
most talked about piece of street. we
Yeah.
have in town.
Yeah,
Well, and when we talk about like South Lincoln, well, Ronald will know this, that there's the sidewalks there are, they're right up against the
Yeah.
curb, which is, oh, I hate doing that. I don't,
And a lot of that's because there's no right of way.
yeah, it's just so tight.
It's so
It's
tight,
like,
that's where they
you
have to
make a
go.
decision. Do you want to continue with the sidewalks? Do you want to put them on one side? There's some questions that need to be addressed there.
Yep.
And then with Wilson, it's drainage.
Yeah.
There's a lot of drainage stuff that has to be addressed through there, so.
And Wilson's also one that's got this, remember, it's got the
Massive crown on it.
So which we already know that if we do want to do Wilson, the other thing, the first call I'm gonna phone call make, and I'm gonna have Dale call right in behind me is to Atmos. Because I think we know the gas lines on Wilson are only buried like 8, 9 inches. We know they're gonna have to be lowered. Atmos knows it too. It's a matter of reminding them, okay, now you guys have something going on, which will trigger them to say, okay, we gotta do something. So.
any questions? I think, it's always, you always got to be open when opportunities come along, to take advantage of it, because sometimes the stars don't align very well. And when they do, we want to be in a position to do something like that because we know it needs to be done.
I just want to make sure I got in front of you as soon as I could, just so you guys, I'd hate for you to look over me and say, well, why didn't you tell us about this? Well,
Well, we would.
I know you would. I know.
Never let you forget that part.
Yeah, I get that. That's why I'm here being proactive.
Love it, love it. So we have a contract
Yeah,
though
we gotta
in front of us
handle
that we need to approve. Are there any questions regarding the contract? Hearing none, if somebody would care to make a motion to approve the contract with EBH for the design and
Inspection.
design and inspection.
Inspection.
What is it?
Testing.
Councilman McCarty moves,
I'll
second by Councilman Wilkins. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, contract is approved, and I will sign it.
Appreciate it.
I think you
I-
already have.
I already did, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, and you can just send me a scan copy back, it's fine. And you'll see our surveyors as soon as the snow melts.
Sounds good. Thank you,
I'm
Darren.
hoping to be the first of next week.
Appreciate it. All right, we will now move into our section E business items. First item there is consideration of, this is an annual piece of business for Ronald's benefit. We have to do this every year, but it's consideration of resolution 2024-01 gap waiver for 2023 financials. Styles.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So this is a request from our auditor. We do this every year. City operates on what's called a modified accrual system of accounting, which is odd. If you know accounting, it's neither cash nor accrual. It's kind of a hybrid. The reason it's set up that way is so that you don't overspend your money. It's public dollars. You can't do that. We've got laws against that. So that's sort of what it is. Now, generally accepted accounting principles don't follow that. And so we have to do a waiver each year to indicate that we want our audited financial statements to be reflective of the modified accrual basis accounting rather than generally accepted accounting principles. So it's a little bit of technical inside baseball stuff, but it's designed to safeguard public money, and it's an important thing that we do it that way because then we get a fair financial view of it when we do the audit.
Any questions? Hearing none, I'd accept a motion to adopt resolution 2024-01 gap waiver for 2023 financials. Councilman Bai moves. Is there a second? Councilman McCarty seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll poll the council. Councilman Bai,
Yes.
Councilman McCarty,
Yes.
Councilman Wilkins,
Yes.
Councilman Driggers.
Yes.
Resolution 2024-01 is hereby adopted and I will sign. Next item up is consideration of an amendment to the CDBG contract for the Child Care Center. Mr. Stiles.
Thank you, sir. So the state sent over this contract amendment. Don't really have a choice other than to agree with it if you want the money. It reflects the Buy America, Build America, Buy America Act requirements that items that go into a project that's paid for with federal money have inputs that are from America essentially. So I'm not sure why it wasn't in the original contract. It probably should have been, but this is an amendment that they're sending out. So we're recommending that you approve it because we would like to use that money for the Child Care Center. Sure.
Any questions?
I guess, I don't know if, anything's been run yet on it, but is there, I mean, cause I don't know if we were already planning on using American goods for it, and if not, is there a chance that that could cause any type of delays or?
I don't think so with this project. The only thing that may cause a hiccup is the HVAC system. They spec'd out a pretty specific one. And I think it might be a Samsung unit. So there may be an issue with that.
Okay.
That would be the only thing. The rest of it's pretty straightforward stuff. It's all, drywall and 2x4s and mostly, pretty basic stuff by and large. There's some specific things though. That would be the one thing I'd be concerned about. And then have to talk to the architect about the sourcing on it. That's actually going out for bid here. We thought it was already out for bid, but it was not. And so it will be going out to bid, I think, this week. So that would be a question for the contractor. We may have to do a substitution on that, but yeah, it's just one of those things we're kind of stuck with, unfortunately. Yeah.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I would consider a motion to adopt the amendment to the CDBG contract for the Child Care Center. Councilman Bai moves. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Councilman McCarty seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Third item is consideration of a renewal agreement with the Senior Center. Mr. Stiles.
Thank you, sir. So our MOU with the Senior Center requires that we reapprove that each year. If they want to continue doing it, they've said, yes, we'd like to continue doing that. And they've provided the information that this is required per the MOU. So they served about 22,000 meals last year through Friendship Meals Program, which is actually up from last year. They're meeting all their criteria and everything. We did program it into the budget for this year. We just sort of assumed that they would want to continue doing it and that they would continue doing that. So it's all factored into the budget. So we just have to make a decision as to whether or not we would like to continue in this agreement with them.
Any questions? Comments? Okay, hearing none, I would consider a motion to renew the agreement or MOU with the Senior Center. Councilman McCarty moves. Is there a second? Councilman Wilkins seconds. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The MOU will be renewed. Item 4, consideration of a purchase of chemicals for the golf course from Harold's for $15,335.63. Mr. Stiles.
Thank you, sir. So this is actually the first time we've got to see this. I don't know if we're kind of learning how a golf course goes. We took over operations last year. There were still some things that were sort of held over from the Golf Course Association. So last year they paid down a pretty substantial chunk of that. They prepaid. for the chemicals. And so this is one of the things that you guys have never seen before. I knew we were doing it last year, but we do an annual purchase for the golf course chemicals. So this is for all the things listed there, fertilizer, herbicides, all that stuff. And so we do it one time a year. We don't usually have to pick up anything else for the rest of the year. It's factored into what we have in the budget for that as operational cost. It's not been prepaid by the Golf Association this year, so we're going to be getting that. We're paying the full ticket, but then we're also getting all the revenue from the golf course. So, yeah, the reason you're saying is because it's above the spending authority that we have as staff. So we're putting it to you for consideration tonight. And again, this will be the one time we just do it once a year.
Any questions?
Was this number up from last year or do they even
A little bit.
a little bit?
Yeah, it's about 6%, I think is what we figured. Don't ask me about the specific chemicals there, but
No,
yeah, it's gone up a little bit. Yeah. We saw the whole thing last year, and that I think Avery did add one chemical, which I don't remember which one it was, and switched out for another one. So it's a little different, but not apples to apples, but
Got it.
So will this, I mean, of course, inflation and whatnot in following years, was this a pretty much representative of how it's gonna be for ongoing?
I think volume wise, probably.
Okay.
Cost wise, it's been this one hasn't been as bad as some of the other ones we've seen. Like I say, I think 5-6% this year, 6%, say, and then the previous year I think was a little bit more than that. I think we were up to like 10%, but it seems to have kind of leveled out a little bit. So yes, I would say that the volume wise, probably yeah, and cost is probably always going to go up a little bit, but yeah, I wouldn't anticipate it to hit $20,000 for several more years, I guess is what I would say.
One thing that's probably not a fair comparison is that we're probably using less chemicals since we went to Zoysia.
Oh yeah. for
Fair-
sure.
Fairways. We were using what was it? What kind of grass am I talking about?
Oh, it's just like it's tall grass fescue.
Tall grass,
Yeah.
fescue grass, and that required a lot more water and a lot more chemical to maintain those fairways. So when we moved to the Zoysia grass fairways, that's actually dropped the spill, I would imagine, some
Yeah,
from what it
it's a
was
significant
before.
decrease in water.
Right. So, again, it's one of those things we want to keep that amenity, but we also want to be smart about how we're doing it. And I know that Avery's been working on some plans for different landscaping and different types of things. And I know he always has those things in mind, what is the cost of, changing up things, on there. So
We've actually talked about kind of on that same vein. We've talked about changing out the tee boxes with Zoysia. They're not right now, so that'd be another opportunity to save some money and labor, frankly, on the tee boxes. So golf courses are fascinating. I could really take you out there and just have Avery talk to you for 3 or 4 days and walk you around. But turf management is incredibly detailed, more than you think it would be.
any other questions? Hearing none, I'd accept a motion to approve the expenditure of $15,335.63 to Harold's for golf course chemicals. Councilman McCarty moves. Is there a second? Councilman By seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Purchase is approved. Item 5, consideration of a cereal malt beverage license application for the municipal golf course. Mr. Stiles.
Thank you, sir. This is another thing that's kind of come over from the Golf Course Association. They did not renew theirs this year because they gave us back tournaments, and so they've effectively folded out as an organization. They're really more just going to stick around as advisory. So in order to sell beer at the golf course, we have to have a C&B license, which would fall under the city this time. Avery would be the responsible person in charge of that. And he's signed off and ready to do that, passed all the background checks and everything on that. With this cereal malt beverage license, like all the other ones, you get a diagram of kind of everything, where the things get sold. So there's a clubhouse diagram there that kind of shows you where a beer gets sold. The actual course is what would be where consumption would take place. And they do sell occasionally on the course. If there's a tournament, they could have a beer cart out there. So we talked with the alcohol control guys and they ABC guys, and they thought that this would probably be sufficient for the application. So yeah, if you have any questions about it, I'm more than happy to walk you through. Danielle probably knows a little bit more about it technically on the backside if you have technical questions about it. But beer sales, we're going to set up an account with Bondi, Bondi's Liquor, and buy that all locally. We have to sales tax for that, so there's a little bit of work on that side of it. But yeah, it'll be a fairly significant revenue stream, I think, and we're planning on keeping the clubhouse open more often, so be more opportunity to sell beer there too. So I've never really had an issue. At least in talking with Jesse, we've never really had an issue with golf course alcohol consumption getting out of hand. So
Any questions?
Are they gonna keep it open just for members, or can the public go in, or are they gonna?
public, yeah, the membership, it's not like a country club, so it's an open
Okay.
clubhouse. There's not any restrictions on that. The membership basically just covers your greens fees for the year
Right.
at a reduced rate.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not a country club thing. You can come in if you come off the street if you wanted to, buy a beer and go play golf if you want to. So
Or buy a beer and don't play golf?
Yeah, that's probably.
that's not our intention.
I understand that,
But
but I think that's where you were
it
headed.
may
That's where you were
happen.
headed, yeah. Hopefully that won't be an issue.
That won't be what we're promoting. So, yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, I'd accept a motion to approve the cereal malt beverage license application for the municipal golf course. Councilman McCarty moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Trigger seconds. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And I will tell the council, I think that's a historic event.
Unanimous.
Probably.
No, that, well, other than the beer garden we had for the bike across Kansas. Where
That's probably true. Yeah.
the city of
agree with that.
Hillsboro had a,
Had a role in
It
selling.
wouldn't have happened 20 years ago, but you.
yeah. Anyway. Next item up is a consideration of a farm ground lease with Brad Weitz. Mr. Stiles?
Yeah, so this one, this is kind of an oddball one. We didn't know that we had an agreement with Mr. Weens on this. He's been farming the HDC property, which is adjacent to. And evidently the previous economic development directors had some sort of agreement worked out with him where they would bill him on a regular basis, and he had not been receiving bills and came in to pay us and didn't know what to pay us. And so we went back and we did not find an agreement with him anywhere in the records. And so we've kind of come to an agreement as far as what the back rent would be, but we wanted to put him on an agreement like we have with everybody else for the farm ground. So this is actually held by the city, not by the land bank. A couple of our other ones are held by the land bank. This piece is held by the city. So it's an agreement between the city and Mr. Wins is a farmer. We applied the same model for cost. We use the average cost for dry land as produced by K-State. They do a survey for non-irrigated cropland, and we use that every year. And this has the same provision that it will increase each year based on what that change is in the market. So it's a 3-year agreement. It's exactly like all the other farm agreements that we have. We actually use the same template and just plug in his information. So we're looking to get this one formalized and move him on down the road on that. So
Any questions? Hearing none, I'd accept a motion to approve the farm ground lease with Brad Weitz. Councilman By moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilman Wilkins seconds. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is posting of bids for annual contract mowing, Mr. Stiles.
So yeah, we, in the last few years, we've used contract mowers to cut down on some of our internal staff mowing and free up some more capacity to do some other things. Last few years, you know, last year we sold quite a bit of property out of one of the areas, the Hillsboro Heights region there. We sold several lots out of there and a couple of the other lots that are around there. So the mowing amount has changed a little bit. And then last year we had Plynert Mowing. We contracted them when we didn't have a rec director to do pick up some mowing for us around the museum and then the park and the fairgrounds. We'd like to continue doing that. Just frankly, we're not sure what we're going to be able to get for assistance. We had a pretty critical shortage of labor last year when it came to mowing and even at the pool, just shortage of labor. So we'd like to continue doing that, and we'd like to have the opportunity to negotiate with Josh Plynert on that because we felt like he would do a pretty good job. And last year we did the same thing. We just negotiated with those people who were interested, and then we put out for bid of those other parts. I would say Plynert's been doing for a number of years the Scheffler House for us, and a couple other places around town. But he's done those, and then we also had him forgot the splash pad. He picked up the splash pad for us last year too. So we would like to continue with him. I would like to do a negotiation with him on that. He did give me his price sheet for this year. I need to go back and compare it to what it was. I think he's pretty close. We'd like to continue doing that with him. So that's a little bit more contract mowing than we normally do. We were going to try to talk with the other contractor who got it was Heffley Mowing. They got the other pieces last year, and they decided they're not going to be mowing this year. So we have the 4 areas that we have listed there. Hillsboro Heights, AMPI. We removed the recycling center downtown because the trash department's going to pick that up. It's mostly spraying. The area downtown is just that section that we have. That's actually the Railroad Conservancies. So we've kind of inherited, and it's in that weird state. They're north of the post office. That's we've got a lot there, and then the Bella Vita,
Via Bella.
Via Bella, yeah.
Is it? I think
Yep.
it-
Via Bella. I think it's right, Via Bella. The boutique up there, that parking lot is actually ours. They don't really use that south lot. The pickup line used it pretty extensively, but they don't. That's ours too to mow. And then we have a couple just oddball pieces. We have the old hospital, which has a lot of stuff out there. That's unchanged from last year. In Willow Glen, we did reduce some of that. We sold a lot out there, and then I had in the original bid last year to mow some lots that technically weren't ours. We were going into an area that we shouldn't have been. We've changed that halfway through the year when we figured it out. And so we've shrunk that one down too a bit. So we just have some oddball areas. What we normally do on these bids is they are monthly costs. So we put out a standard to which we want it to be kept, and then they put in a monthly bid. Some months they mow it more than other months. They run from April to October. So on the shoulder months, they're not mowing near as much, but in the summer months, they may have to pick up more depending on how wet it is. We like that. The contractors don't necessarily like that. They would have paid by the time, but we've always been able to come out, I think, at a fair price for everything. So last year, like I say, we had quite a bit of mowing, and then we picked up some extra things. We were at 31,000. That's spread across multiple departments. We did assume contract mowing back in the 24 budget. There's also some costs there to get put into the land bank. And so that, it's all sort of factored in there, and I think we've got it pretty well covered, unless the costs have gone up significantly when we get the bids back. We don't know until we put them out. But what we're looking for tonight is to post the bids for those 4 areas that I mentioned and have those due back on February 14th for the 20th meeting. And then I'd like to take a shot at negotiating with Plynert Mowing on his existing stuff that he has been doing, if that's acceptable to you.
Mhm.
This 1.14 acres in Willow Glen's odd.
It is odd. Yeah, we own that section that would be phase 2 to the south.
Okay,
And then it's, we buzz a strip basically that's not farmed, because if we don't, it gets overgrown and pretty gross. Then we have one lot out there still too, which gets
Yeah, that makes sense.
manicured to a different level. And last year we had that other lot that we sold to the Funks, that was getting mowed too.
So who maintains the pond area?
It's the Willow Glen Homeowners Association.
When I'm looking at it, it just makes me wonder if that farmer would be willing to just go.
Just
bit
come a little
closer.
yeah. Well, and we got into a little bit of an argument with some homeowners over there because they have extended their backyards a little further into
Oh.
the area and growing grass, and we were mowing over their freshly grown grass because it's our property. We're trying to maintain it. So there's a little bit of give and take there, I guess. Trying to be good neighbors, I guess. That's right. I'd rather not have that property to maintain, but we got it, so we're gonna do it.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Hearing none, I accept a motion to, for the posting of bids for the annual contract mowing and the allowance to negotiate with Planter Mowing and Lawn Care.
Make a motion.
Councilman McCarty moves. Is there a second? Councilman Bai seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are now into a consideration of a potential position for assistant to the city administrator, Mr. Stiles.
Yeah, during last year's budget, we discussed adding a position, we called it a force multiplier position. Just as kind of an assistant to help me do some things. We've got a lot of projects that are out there that require a lot of team and attention. And so sometimes there are things that we'd like to be doing that we can't get to. A lot of times we have grant applications. There's several grant things that I would love to be able to apply for right now, but we don't really have the capacity to do it. And so we factored into the budget when we were putting that together, a position there that's probably somewhere between 10 and 20 hours a week. $15 to $20 an hour, depending on the person, to provide a little bit of assistance on some of these other things. We've got some research that needs to be done. There's things with economic development that we could be doing that we need to really get done. Things like the neighborhood revitalization plan need to get finished. We've got the comp plan, which I'm dreading taking on, but that needs to happen. And so this is really just a person to help with some of those things. It's a little bit more of a high level project-based type of thing. I think we can find some folks out there who are interested in this. I did make it potential to be a remote work situation. If there's some opportunity for flexibility there, I think that would be helpful for trying to find somebody. And frankly, we don't really have a great office space for somebody if we brought somebody in, so we're going to be negotiating that too. As you can see from the description there, it's got policies, procedures, promotional materials, just kind of a hodgepodge of everything. I would love to find somebody who have pretty high confidence so we could kick some projects to that could do some fairly high level research and technical writing to do some of these things for us. And then, we put in there that they may end up interacting with the public. There could be some situations where we need them to help with public meetings. Clerical duties as needed if that was some situation. We do sometimes find ourselves if people are sick or out for training or something, that it wouldn't be a bad thing to have somebody could come in and maybe fill in a little bit. Sometimes that makes more work than help, but you just need a hand sometimes. So this person would work directly for me. We've got the money sort of set aside in the industrial fund for this. So we're looking at if you're willing to go for that, we will ask for this to be approved tonight, and then we're going to start looking for somebody to fill that position. Like I said, it's part-time job. It's part-time, no benefits, up to 20 hours a week, probably. $15 to $20 an hour.
Oh, not full time.
Not full-time. No, we don't need anybody full-time.
See where that would not be a bad idea, but
Mhm.
that's interesting. So they just work for you and they wouldn't boss anybody out right here, right?
Yeah, no, they're not in charge of anybody. They're basically working with me directly. I've got, like I say, I got a list of grant things I think I would start somebody at. Try to get them doing some grant writing. So that's somebody with some technical writing skills would be good. Yeah, don't need anybody with a master's degree or anything like that. It doesn't need to be that.
Right.
It just needs to be, with proficiency, good communicator. It's probably the best way to put it.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I would consider a motion to approve the job description and allow for the assistant to the city administrator position and allow the city administrator to begin a job search.
I'll make that motion.
Councilman McCarty moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Pai seconds. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is item 9, Ford invoices totaling $227.02. Mr. Stiles.
So we had a seatbelt assembly. I'm not sure what vehicle that goes to. And then we had a Chevrolet passenger window issue that needed to get checked and some warning light things that need to be checked. Looks like warning lights and I think backup lights on this one was what the issue was. Cruise control was not working. I think this was Ben's vehicle, fire chief. It was.
Looks like it.
So the total there is $227.02.
Any questions? Hearing none, I accept a motion to authorize the Ford invoices for payment in the amount of $227.02. Councilman McCarty moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Trigger seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All abstaining,
Abstain.
all opposed. Motion carries. Next item is consideration of the 2024 Land Bank Budget Proposal. Mr. Stiles.
Thank you, sir. So this is kind of a unique function of the land bank. You as the city council sit as the board of the land bank, but you also sit as the city council. And the way that the land bank is structured, you have to approve the budget for the land bank before the land bank can approve the budget for the land bank. So as the city council, we're reviewing the budget for this year for the land bank. As you can see, we have starting fund balance of $64, so we don't really carry a huge balance in there. We did sell quite a bit of property last year, and we ended up fixing quite a bit of roof last year too, so that ate up a chunk of that. Most of what you see there, property sales, we think we're estimating 20,000 this year in property sales. That could go up or down based on what we do with this house over on 306 West Grand, and then we've got a couple other people interested in some other lots potentially. So we've got a couple property sales potentially lined up. We get about 19,000 in rental income. So that ends up being 39,164.09 is the projected revenue. Expenditure side, contractuals, that covers our mowing costs there. And any of the other maintenance things that happen there. 4,500 for utilities and commodities. We've got an issue with the taxes on this. We've got them under dispute. I'm not sure if it's gonna. I'm not sure what they're gonna come out with on that. We've paid them. We paid the first half taxes and put it in the dispute, trying to figure out what they're doing with our taxation on land bank property. So we're gonna try to work through that with them. Hopefully we don't have to pay that. You're not supposed to have to pay that, but there's some questions about what that ends up being. So we put that in the budget for next year too, and then so the total expenditures would be 38.5 with the ending fund balance of $664.09 projected. So that would be the land bank budget. So as the city council, if you approve that budget, we would ask for a motion to approve that, and then you as the land bank can approve that again if you'd like to.
Well, what happens if the land bank doesn't approve it?
I don't know. I've never uncharted territory, Lou.
No budget.
No budget.
budget.
Can't
All
pay
right.
any money.
Okay.
Interesting.
Guess we could try that.
Those land bank group, that's
County.
Yeah,
they're a little difficult.
Can't pay your taxes, sorry.
Any questions, comments? Hearing none, I'd consider a motion to adopt the 2024 land bank budget proposal.
I'll make that motion.
Councilman Pai moves. Is there a second?
Second,
Councilman McCarty seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So now we will move into a land bank meeting. And so hopefully these guys will be as approving as you all have been.
I don't know about that new guy though.
Yeah.
yeah,
So just as a point of reference, why that is set up that way is because you don't have to be the land bank board. You could appoint another land bank board. In that case, then it would be a check and balance. But as it sits,
Here we
land
are.
bank board, here we
We are.
are.
Turn our hat around
Yep.
backwards. Yeah, there you
Just like the
go.
public building. commission.
Okay.
Here we go.
Public building.
So in the land bank meeting, I call the meeting of the land bank, the city of Hillsboro to order. First item is approval of minutes. Did everyone receive copies of the minutes? Were there any corrections or comments regarding the minutes? Hearing none, I accept a motion to adopt the minutes as approved or as submitted. Councilman Pai moves. Is there a second? Councilman McCarty seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Second item is approval of land bank vouchers. Mr. Stiles.
Yeah, we had Fleming's out to fix the heaters at the welding school, $142.
Any questions regarding the vouchers? Hearing none, I'd accept a motion to approve the voucher as submitted for $142. Councilman McCarty moves. Is there a second? Councilman Wilkins seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll now review the land bank's annual report. Mr. Stiles.
Thank you, sir. So we've got the budget, of course, attached to this too for next year, but the annual report is closed here. We've got all the revenues and expenses there for you, so that's part of that report. Revenue side, we've obviously received rental payments, and then we've also done some property sales. We sold a couple of lots to Chuck Maltby for potential future expansion. Larry Smith for another construction unit. We sold the old 128 South Main lot to Hillsboro Ford. And then Elcon Properties brought lots in Hillsboro Heights, and then the Funks bought a home lot in Willow Glen. So total revenue from sales last year was 35,250, or yeah, 250, sorry. Expenditure wise, we kind of detailed those out. We've already mentioned some of those. The one thing that's sort of unique this last year is we did buy some for sale signs. We needed some new signs, but we also had EBH fees in there for platting services because we are in the middle of trying to replat the AMPI property, which I think will help with our tax issue. Right now, the AMPI property is one giant chunk. And so we use part of it for different things. The police department's in one section, the fire department's got a section, we do storage in another. And then we have the building to the east, which we lease to different people. And so I think that's creating some of the issues with the county. What the platting would do is to split all that up. So you would end up sectioning off and creating a whole new plat for that. The reason we need to do that is for the fire department. If we do that fire station project, we need to have it separated out as its own parcel. And we've already split that parcel once to do the EMS, and so we can't do another split on it. So the replatting, there's $3,000 in there for replatting. We still have to finish that process through the planning commission. So that'll be part of it too. And that's not an expense we'll incur this year in 2024, but that's something that did happen in 2023. And then we talked already about the budget and what the projections are for that. We also, the land bank, kind of as a major note there, the land bank holds the property that is optioned for Mennonite Housing's project potentially. So that could happen. We should know more about that. I think in March or April is when that comes in. If they do get awarded, it'll be the middle part of the year. And like Byron said Mr. Adrian, when he was here, they'll probably get construction going pretty quick after that. And we'd be looking at sometime in 2025 that would be open. So that's a great project, I think, and you know, that's something that's out there. So there's that. And then as part of the annual report, you have a list of all the property that the land bank holds currently. And we'll talk a little bit more about the one house that we have, 306 West Grand, here in a minute. But the rest of those properties, you just kind of see what we've got there. I tagged all the ones that are Mennonite housing related. I put an MH on the sides of those. Pond, there's an area there that we hold. It's the pond area. It's probably never going to develop. It's got a huge reserve on it and other things for that. So we've got property around the hospital. We've got property in Hillsboro Heights. We've got the Willow Glen property. We've got the old hospital itself. You know, a lot of stuff. And then of course the AMPI. So we've got the two anchors on the ends of the corners of Main Street, AMPI and the old hospital. And then, you know, we've inherited that next phase of Willow Glen that may or may not ever happen. So that's the annual report with that. So we need to approve both the budget, which we've kind of detailed there, kind of grouped them together, and accept the annual report as actions tonight.
So do you need two separate motions? Okay. So any questions? Comments? Hearing none, we will accept the annual report. Would somebody care to make a motion to accept the report? Councilman Bai moves. Is there a second? Councilman Wilkins seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4 is adopt the 2024 budget. Any comments or questions regarding that? Hearing none, I'd accept a motion to adopt the 2024 land bank budget.
So moved.
Councilman Driggers moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Bai seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The budget's adopted. And finally, we will consider accepting bids for 306 West Grand Avenue. Mr. Stiles.
Thank you, sir. So this is, you may remember accepting the donation of this house back in September, I think it was. We got this house donated to us. It had a lot of code enforcement issues. And the owner of the house didn't really want to address those issues. And so the solution that they came to was to donate it to the land bank. We really have not done much with it other than get a quote to demolish it. But then we've had several people reach out and express interest in it. There's a couple, we had 4 people actually talk about doing something with. They were interested in, you know, what the city was interested in getting for that house. The idea is that I think they would remodel it. The big issue with this house is the foundation, the walls, if you remember, are kind of coming in like this. And so it's going to need some pretty significant foundational work. You know, it was built in 1930, so it's not super modern either. It's only 800 square feet, 2-bedroom, 1 bath. I mean, it's probably a rental house for somebody. But, you know, we had so many people interested in it that I thought I'd bring it up and say, okay, well, now that we've had, you know, 4 separate individuals interested in it, we should probably look at how we're going to handle that. You know, we could put it on the market and try to sell it through, you know, real estate agent and do all those things, but I don't know that we need to necessarily do that. I would recommend doing a sealed bid process just to see how things come back in. If you're going to do that, I would recommend a list of these things that be put into that bid requirement. Highest responsible bidder, I think that's probably the best way to do that. That gives us a little bit of room. If the highest bidder isn't necessarily responsible, then, you know, we can make that determination. It's an as-is quitclaim deed from the land bank. We're not going to be doing any kind of guarantees on it. You know, it's as is. I would recommend a $500 security deposit or deposit put on that for their bids. They can do that as a bond. They can do it as cash. They can do whatever. I just think that would be one of those things that they should put that down as kind of earnest for the bid. To show that they're serious, so that we don't get a bunch of people just wandering in and trying to put something on there. We want to require that they bring the property up to code, subject to city inspection. I think that's an important part too, that it has to be inspected by the city. We won't turn utility service on to it again unless we have an opportunity to inspect it. That's one of the things we've been working on. I think it would be important that the person use this as a residence, either for owner occupied or being rented out. I would anticipate this being a rental property. And as such, I would ask anybody who's submitting a bid to provide us a list of other property that they have in town and that property's use. And we'd like for that person to be in good standing with the city. I don't really want to sell it to somebody who has a history of problems with code enforcement or making sure the utility bills are paid. Like, I think it needs to be somebody who's in good standing with us. We would require that it be remodeled by city licensed contractor or by the owner with the inspection of the city. We would allow that too. I would give the person 1 year off, 1 year to complete the process, necessary renovations, unless we grant them an extension for some reason. And then, as part of that purchase, I would recommend an option agreement with them that we have the opportunity to buy it back for whatever they sold it to us, less an administrative fee. I put $1,000 in there. That might be a little bit aggressive, but some kind of fee there for the administration part of it and our trouble with having to redo it if they don't comply. We'd give tours on it. We've already given 3 tours on it, but if we want to come in, have it appointment only, set the bid date for the 5th of February, 4 p.m. We do a public opening at that point. We review those. And then at the February 6th meeting, we could have a land bank meeting to discuss that. Important thing to remember with a land bank, you have to go to publication and there's a 30-day waiting period before you can actually sell somebody something. So those are the things I would recommend with it. I don't know if Andrew's got any other
No,
recommendations.
that's pretty much it, what I would recommend, yeah.
So,
I do have, I don't know if it would be something that would be nice to put in there. I don't know if to put in something that says, at any undisclosed time, you could like request updates on, because, you don't want to wait if they have a year and then come to find out, get into that year mark and they've done nothing with it and then, wasting the city's time and whatnot. So I don't know if that would be worth
yeah, we
putting
can
in.
definitely do that. What do you think? I
Yeah,
mean, like 90 days, every 90 days,
Quarterly.
60 days, quarter, yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions? So what I'm hearing is we would be looking for a motion to consideration of accepting the bids as outlined with the addition of quarterly updates to the winning bidder after the bids are accepted.
Yeah.
Is that where
That's
we're at,
how,
where
yeah.
we're at?
That's what you're.
Everybody comfortable with that?
Yep.
All right. So would somebody care to make that motion?
I'll make it.
Councilman By moves. Is there a second? Councilman Wilkins seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Well, we did pretty good getting through the business part of this in just over an hour. We had a lot of work there. So we will turn it over to you, Mr. Stiles, for your report.
Thank you, sir. Insurance savings reports in there for you. Actually had a really good month in December, $8,500 saved there. So almost 25,000 for the plan year, and we run on a plan year. So it's July 1st to June 30th. We're kind of one of those eyeballs that doesn't use a calendar year, but so this worked out pretty well. I haven't really had a whole lot of comments or feedback negatively about the plan. Right now we have a reserve fund balance of $102,045.21. So sitting pretty well on that. I think that's working pretty well. New hires, the fire department had Brendan Schaefer come on, join the force after successfully prospecting. To step back and kind of describe what that looks like. Anytime someone wants to join the fire department, they have to prospect for us. And so they have a 6-month, basically probation period, where they're required to come to all the trainings and meetings unless they're excused by the fire chief. They participate like a full-time fire, as a regular fireman, they do all the training. And then the fire department holds a vote. It's non-binding. The chief ultimately makes the decision, but he obviously weighs that pretty heavily. To make sure that the other people on the department find this person to be a person that they wouldn't mind going into a fire with. I think it's a pretty important piece. And so Brendan has come through and done that, and unanimously was voted to be someone that they would like to work with, and the fire chief agreed with that. And so we've appointed him onto the fire department. We now have 28 full firemen, and we actually have, I think he said 2 more in the prospecting pool. So we pretty regularly have people in the prospecting pool. They don't always come through. Some of them wash out. That's what it's for. So, but that's great. You know, Brendan's a good guy, hard worker. He's going to be a great fireman, I think. Sanitation, we had an open position over at the trash department. We actually were able to fill that late December. We hired Christopher Cordell. Chris is working with David right now, and he's gotten kind of a crash course in how to do it in nasty weather. Chris is learning it. He's a trooper. He's been real good. I think him and David work really well together. They fit personality wise. That's always a trick when you're talking about trash. It's not a fun job, let me tell you that. And it's hard work, but I think that was going to work out really well. Jason Wheeler took a job with the city of Marion. And so he went back to the city of Marion, recruited back on that. So we've actually begun the search to find Jason's replacement. We put it on Indeed, and I think I've had 15 people apply for it, which is a lot.
Man.
That's a lot. I was kind of blown away by that. And there are 3 or 4 of them that are fairly local. I don't think any of them are from Hillsboro, but there's some from Lincolnville and Marion and different places. So it's been pretty good. We used Indeed on that. We really haven't used the newspaper yet. We were kind of waiting to see how that went, and yeah, it's gone pretty well. So we may not end up doing that in print, but we're also planning on putting out the custodian position, which we created last year. We put a pause on it. We did a couple I think we did 1 interview last fall, and we just didn't feel like we had good candidates. So we paused that, and I think we're going to reopen that here coming up shortly. So Building Bridges Partnership, this is a cool program. USD 410 and a Workforce One. We put those guys together late last fall to kind of talk about things, and they're putting together what's called a Building Bridges program. Monday the 25th of March from 6:30 to 8 at the high school. So what that is the companies from around here bring in people who just want to talk about their work experience, and it goes all the way from CEO all the way down to frontline person. They want to bring those people in. The idea is to expose students and their families and parents to different opportunities that exist within Hillsboro. You'd be shocked at the number of jobs and type of jobs that are available in Hillsboro. The idea is just to build those connections, build those bridges, and to bring those people in and kind of talk to them and say, you know, hey, there's an opportunity for you. If you want to go out and get your education, great. If you want to come right into the workforce, we got a place for you. You know, we've got this training. We talk about all the things that kind of promotes the businesses. It also gives them an opportunity. Businesses will fill out an information card. So if they want to do job shadowing, or they want to do internships, or they want to come in and speak to the class about things, they'll have an opportunity to volunteer for those things. Workforce One has some programs where they will pay for job shadowing. So an employer doesn't even have to pay for it. They can get somebody, bring them in, have them shadow, and have the state pay for it, which is a really cool deal. They're actually a state employee. So there's lots of cool things with this. I think it's been a really positive combination between those two. We're hoping to get a really good response from this. And so I'm going to be beating on the door of business owners. Like I say, it's from CEO level all the way down to the janitor. You know, they want to know all those experiences and all those different things. So we're going to be doing that. Well, I also agreed to sponsor the refreshments. I thought that was a pretty fair thing. We can do that. They were going to have the middle school foods class make it, and I was like, yeah, well, I don't know if they're going to want to do that. So we can sponsor the food. If they want to do that, we'll pay for that
You have
too.
a board, and so we could.
Yeah. Come on now, Barney, we're not operating a bar.
Sorry about that.
Don't get anything started. Yeah, so that's a cool thing. I'm really excited about that. I think that's going to be a really good partnership. You got the KPP bill in there for you from December. It's attached, so you can kind of see our energy costs. We actually had a negative in ECA, so we had 14,000 we saved. We've had really only 1 month this year where we had a positive ECA. Yeah, so this year's been great for that. Our consumption, that was interesting enough, was down 10% from December to December. So I'm not sure exactly what that would be, but yeah, that continues to be pretty good there. If you ever have any questions about any of those buildings, we can talk to those. Fleet management, I met with Enterprise Fleet Management Program last week. Talked to them about, we've got a lot of fleet vehicles that need to be replaced. They're all pretty much at the end of life, and we cannot afford to do all of them at once. It would be a lot of money. So, we've talked to them about potentially doing a fleet management program. So what that is they take your whole fleet and then you replace portions of it at different times, depending on what program you select. And then it kind of becomes a rotating thing where you replace them every 4 years, you capitalize on the equity in the vehicle, helps pay the cost, and then you kind of end up with this budget number that makes it a little easier to balance. And then you have, decent equipment that you're rotating out pretty regularly. A lot of communities are doing this. I talked with Lindsborg is already doing this. Winfield does this. McPherson, of course, they're bigger, but Lindsborg is not that much bigger. And so we're providing them some information. I'm optimistic that maybe they can come up with something. There's lots of different programs that can be used within this. There's lots of different ways to acquire things. They work with the local dealerships too, on the maintenance part and the acquisition parts. I don't know all the ins and outs of that. But they all, that's an opportunity to keep our two dealerships involved with the process too, so that they're making sure that they get a piece of that. So they come highly recommended. We'll see. We'll see what it is. I sent them the information today, hoping to hear back in February, and then maybe have a proposal in March. Building for the child care center, and we kind of talked about that, or some technical issues with CDBG. So the big documents are going to be released, I guess, next week. I thought maybe this week. Contractor walkthroughs are scheduled for the 15th, bid opening scheduled for the 29th. And once reviewed by the architect and the board, the city council will actually have to award that bid because it comes through us. So got the year in review. I bumped that to next meeting because I looked at the agenda and said, you know what, we probably don't need that too. So we're going to do that next meeting. You also have the financial statements there, end of year, unaudited financial statements there. You can kind of see our cash positions on the front. Everything's pretty good shape. By and large, I think we're up from where we ended 2022. The big improvement there is in the electric fund. We were real bad at the beginning of last year. And that, she did the rate change on that. And so then we've been able to build back up some. We do have some things that we know we need to do. We didn't do a lot of the capital projects this year that we were talking about. Todd and I talked about a replacement bucket truck, which will be about $280,000. Yeah, they're not cheap. So, we built up a little bit more balance than we originally intended this year, but there's things that we're going to have to do coming up this year. Or last year we built a balance, and this year we're going to be maybe spending a little bit more on some of that stuff. So if you have any questions about any of those, we can kind of do that. Auditors will be in the house next
February 20,
February 20th.
in that range, yep.
That works great for us because it's, we were getting audits way later, and that was not helpful for putting together the budget. So early February puts a lot of stress on Danielle and Krista and Karen in the office. Appreciate them doing that because it makes life easier on the other side. So thank you for that. And that is all I had tonight, I think.
Real question.
Yes, sir.
When you have this program for jobs.
Yeah.
We have like in an auditorium or just one person speak, or where you have tables set up where they can go around to different stations?
Yeah, they're going to break out. They're going to do the kind of
Okay.
breakout.
That's what I wondered about.
Yeah. I think they're going to try to break it out by sector. So if you had well, it depends on who shows up to speak too.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, they were talking about doing it we'll have medical, and then we'll have
Right.
some industrial, some service, that kind of.
That always seems to work pretty well when you do that, so I thought
Yeah.
they were gonna do that.
The downside of that is you may miss out on one.
I know, yeah.
You go to one and you maybe should have went to the other one. You don't know. But
Okay, thank you.
it's the first. They're going to try this multiple times. So
Good. Oh, that'll be good too.
this is the inaugural run. Well, hopefully it goes
Yeah, I hope it
well, and
works.
then we'll adjust, I think. So.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we will move to our final opportunity for public comment. I see nobody from the public online. Jane, any comments today?
Well, I didn't know people were asking about 306 West Grand. I've been past it. I didn't go trespassing, but I've seen the pictures on the internet.
Yeah, it's not great.
The roof didn't look so good on the east side.
No, it needs a lot of love.
Well, yeah, it's something I wouldn't want, but I didn't know people were just, what do they do? Show up and just come in the building and ask?
Yeah, they have, or they call, they know we have it now, that
Well,
work's
yeah.
gotten out and, yeah, they've either called or showed up or, asked Ben. A lot of times they just ask Ben, building inspector. Yeah, like I said, we've shown it 3 times. So people know what they're getting into, I think. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm kind of surprised by that because we were planning on tearing it down, honestly.
Does the
It's
city
pretty
have
rough.
other houses that might be for sale later?
We don't at this point, no. That's the only,
I thought somebody said rental houses.
no.
No, we don't have any.
We don't have anything.
rental
no.
house.
We have a hospital and an AMPI.
Yeah. Yeah, we have an old hospital.
Someday I wanna buy a house half the size of what I got,
Okay.
cause it's too big,
Yeah.
but it's what I could get.
But I mean, you could bid on this one. A lot of work.
That foundation is.
Yeah, that's a mess. It would take, the county has it valued at $34,000. That would be extremely optimistic. We're not gonna get that, so. Oh,
Anything else, Jane?
I forgot whatever it was.
Okay.
fair enough.
Again, I just want you to know, I always appreciate you showing up and you're very dedicated and appreciate it. Always have good questions. Thank you. Council comments. Councilman By,
Nothing tonight.
Councilman McCarty,
It'll take a while for all the snow to melt. And it'll be
You
public.
ain't kidding, man. That's been rough.
gonna be wet for a while.
Yeah.
Councilman Wilkins,
I'd like to thank the city crew for going out and taking care of all that snow, to be honest, because I'm from Tennessee and I don't like any of it. So yeah, no, when the, big old snowstorm happened, thanks for taking care of the streets and restoring power. That was appreciated because we lost it for that night, early morning, whenever it happened. So yeah, just,
And we
Yeah.
squirrels.
No, that one was the squirrels. Yeah, the funny thing is, and I'm sorry, I just interrupt, but the funny thing is that people lose power and they don't call us right away.
yeah,
They sort of assume that we know or that someone else has called.
yeah,
So it's important, and I would say that to anybody, it's important that when it happens, you let us know immediately so that we can address that, because it might not just be you, but we don't have any way to know that it's out. So not at this point anyway. Now, if we upgraded our system a little bit, we could.
So I can call you at 2 in the morning. with
You
power
can't
issues.
include it. So,
it wasn't 2 in the morning.
it was, I called you at 1. Sorry, that was me calling.
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
Might know that the phone picks up the.
Yeah. Yeah, or if you call in the city main number, and then hit the option for the on-call person, it will route to that person.
Oh,
okay.
that's good to keep in mind, because
Yeah.
I thought we'd have to wait until,
No.
in the morning.
Most people,
Business
yeah,
hours.
that would be something I would encourage people to take advantage of, because and most people who have an immediate situation do that, but power is the one that is interesting to me, because people will wait
Oh,
hours just thinking that we're out fixing it, and we don't even know. So, yeah.
I
It's-
could
you
have
could-
called Jesse. That's who I'd call.
I think that's who did get a call from him. Okay. Any other comments?
that's it.
Okay, Councilman Triggers.
Done doing it.
The only comment I would add is that Councilman By, myself, and City Administrator Stiles will be headed to Topeka in the morning for the League of Kansas Municipalities Day at the Capitol. We've got appointments scheduled with Senator Wilborn and Representative Owens. And we will contact our future Senator Fagg at the reception in the evening. So it'll be an all-day
there.
deal. We'll be back sometime tomorrow evening, so we will, we'll fill you in if we learn anything new. We get any education.
Have you heard anything about the fire departments, like they were trying to pass that would actually do away with places like our fire department here? Have you
I haven't
heard
heard
any more
anything
about
on
that?
any advancements on that. The Kansas State Fire Chiefs Association usually sends out a thing pretty regularly. They have a
Yeah.
lobbyist. So I think they're watching it real close, but I haven't
It's
heard.
kind of worrisome, I mean, really, if they
Yeah, it
try
is.
to pass something.
Yeah. I think they're more focused on tax right now, tax bill. They're trying to get that through in record time, so.
Any other business that needs to come before the council? Hearing none, I declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.